Bernstein, play-by-play broadcaster extraordinaire for ESPN, and yes, BYU TV this week, and the West Coast Conference.
I get to make my BYU game debut tonight. BYU
we're
TV.
excited.
Let's go, man.
Me too.
It's going to be fun.
And then Dave Rose working with us tonight. You ever heard of this guy, Dave Rose?
David.
David. I got to David.
He's changed
okay.
it.
Make sure you address him as David Rose tonight.
David Rose.
The broadcaster.
Well,
Like, oh
David.
It's great to have you with us, seriously, for a week of March Madness in Vegas.
This is awesome. I mean, this tournament, this year of all years, considering how much better the league is, for years, the bottom of the league struggled, right? And this year, the league has been so much better. When you look at not just the top, right? We know how good Gonzaga is, and BYU's on a great roll right now, and they're one of the elite teams also right now. And St. Mary's has been consistent for years. But when you look at the next tier, right, USF, Pacific, I mean, Santa Clara's got a chance for their 20th win tonight, and they just lost 6 in a row prior to losing, beating Portland last Saturday. So I think it goes to show how strong this league is now in the depth, and the coaches and everything that's going on in this league. It's setting up for a great tournament.
We've been talking a lot about what seed should BYU get. They're 9 in net, but they have a 6th seed in Lenardi's bracket. We just talked to Joe yesterday.
Was he in the cave?
Just aired that.
Because, you know, Bill Walton says that Lenardi lives in a cave.
He was in a hotel. Depends on the hotel whether it's a cave, right?
Well, if you remember, during the BYU game at St. Mary's, I brought it up to him. The night Bill ate peanut butter off the television screen.
Who can forget such a momentous occasion?
But I had to find out. Please, Joe, put this rumor to bed. You do not live in a cave. And he confirmed he doesn't.
Oh, okay.
So,
and we tried to get Bill for the tourney. It just, not enough peanut butter.
Please.
What's the issue?
Yeah. Please. Jarom, is it? Bill with 2 L's. How are you?
With 2 L's.
What a great band Rush is. I remember.
He doesn't know who
Rush
they are.
play.
He's the
Whatever,
Dead.
Man.
He's Fogerty. He's CCR. He's Bob Dylan. He doesn't know who Rush is. He doesn't.
Oh, Bill Walton. You've done that, Roxy, and that's why you earned the right to broadcast.
That was mainly your tryout. It wasn't your other accomplishments. It was that you could handle William.
Please. Please. Little Billy.
Please.
Little Bill with 2 L's. And don't you forget it. Roxy Bernstein with us on BYU Sports Nation. Jarom and I had a little bit of a fun tiff after the coaches voted Filip Petrusev the player of the year in the West Coast Conference. And we looked at the numbers and thought, okay, Yoli Childs, we feel, is the best player in the conference. Why didn't he earn it? What did he deserve it over Petrusev?
I think that Yoli missing those games with the injury, I think, contributed to him not winning player of the year. When you look at Gonzaga, Petrusev is their best player and their most maybe important player. But the same thing could be said for Yoli with BYU. Although Hawes has played great, hit some huge shots, of course, in the game against St. Mary's. Toulson's been a great addition coming back to BYU. Can he be newcomer of the year, even though he was already at the school?
We asked the question. We had to ask the question.
And the league was like, yes, before.
So he can?
Yes.
Okay. Well, he was already here for 2 years. I guess, yeah.
It was like a season and a half.
But it's a great comeback story.
Sure.
So
comeback player.
And then you look at St. Mary's and Fitz and Ford. You know the guy that I think, and maybe nobody's talking about him? How about your little Trip from Pacific?
Defensive player of the year and a first teamer.
I mean, where would Pacific be without him? And Damon STOUDAMIRE's gotten the Tigers to 4th, right? What a job. He's well-deserving of Coach of the Year. Mark Pope's got a case, I think, also.
A case?
A strong case.
Can we talk about it for a sec?
Okay.
So Pacific only played Gonzaga and BYU once. That's my issue
true.
with that. If they play
it's not Damon's fault.
It's the league's
Well, maybe it is because they were bad the year before, and their net ranking was low. So
yeah. Wait a minute, he was still the coach. No, but for sure, Damon STOUDAMIRE and Pacific have had a nice banner year. We were just like, wait a minute, and there's those on the outside that go, well, they had this talented players. Yoli Child is gone if Mark Pope's not here. Jake Toulson doesn't come back, so Alex Barcelo comes. And then you have to win. And, oh, by the way, 9-game suspension, 4 games with the finger with Yoli. Oh, by the way, Jake Toulson played with the
Can we make
Mark Pope was the
Can he be GM of the year? How's that?
Seriously.
Right? To get Toulson to come down the road. Yeah, and then get Yoli to come back and then get Barcelo to transfer in from Arizona and get the waiver so he's eligible immediately.
Did we just create that?
I think we did. The BYU TV GM of the year in the West Coast Conference.
Well,
what do you think?
Let's take the BYU TV out of it because it looks too biased, you know?
Okay, so the BYU Sports Nation.
The Roxy Bernstein,
GM of the year in the West Coast Conference.
That's not a mouthful at all. This tournament's especially fun. You talked about the bottom, but St. Mary's is the reigning champ of this tournament on the men's side. And in comes BYU, having defeated Gonzaga recently. I still think this is Gonzaga's tournament to lose. I joke that it's the Gonzaga Invitational.
Mark Few Invitational.
Presented by the West Coast Conference, right? Because the way they pack this place, the tradition they have, if they lose, it's this huge upset. I think it's going to be fun, but I still have the Zags as kind of the team to beat here.
I'm with you, and I think it gives them an advantage being the one that St. Mary's and BYU, assuming that they advance. BYU is going to be waiting for St. Mary's, but assuming the Gales win and get to Monday night, and that's going to be a battle. Well, and Gonzaga will, on paper at least, have the easier game to get to the championship. So I think it does play in to what you're saying, Jarom, that it is Mark Few and Gonzaga's tournament to lose.
And oh, by the way, you could give Mark Few the coach of the year every year.
That's true. Well, he's won it, 13 times?
That's crazy.
It could be every year.
Yeah.
They've
it really
lost
is.
2 games.
The Mark Few Coach of the Year award goes to Damon STOUDAMIRE.
They should rename it that. Like, legitimately.
13 times.
That's amazing.
When he retires, he'll probably get that named after him, but he's still going strong.
He's unbelievable.
Play-by-play specialist Roxy Bernstein on BYU Sports Nation. We are live in Las Vegas. I'd like to set up our next question with our stat of the day.
It's the BYU Sports Nation stat of the day.
Since the year 2000, no team lower than a 3 seed has won the West Coast Conference Tournament. And only one time has the 3 seed in the last 21 years won the West Coast Conference Tournament. It's always been the 1 or the 2.
So who doesn't have a shot?
Was it San Diego?
In 2008.
2008, out on their home floor at the Slim Jim.
That was a big deal, right?
Yeah.
And maybe that's the reason that it's neutral now.
Well, also, why wouldn't you want it here in Vegas?
True.
I mean, come on.
True.
Destination
But the changes have generally
Exactly.
been made to accommodate Gonzaga's will.
So with that in mind, Roxy, who's the team not named BYU, St. Mary's, or Gonzaga that has a chance to really mess up the bracket?
I'm going to go with the USF Dons. Todd Golden, they got their 20th win the other day. Although anytime Pepperdine takes the floor, they got Colby Ross who can take over a game. But there's something different about playing USF and their style. And if they're hitting shots, that's the thing, is if they're not making their threes, it could be a long day. But if they're nailing their threes and playing that nerd ball and spreading it out.
Nerd ball.
Nobody knows it better than BYU, who lost on the hilltop.
See, so they could be dangerous in this team, but those two teams at 5 and 6, you can't say that in most years, but this is a year. And you look at Pepperdine played Gonzaga tough both times, lost by 5 up at the Kennel, and it was a tie game until about 10 minutes to go in the game in Malibu. Now, they did play without Tilly in that game in Malibu, but those two teams are difficult to play against, especially for Pepperdine if they could stay out of foul trouble, the Edwards brothers and Ross. So those 5-6 teams are going to be tough outs in this tournament.
All right, Roxy, great to have you with us. We look forward to your call tonight. LMU, San Diego, Santa Clara, and Portland. Let's get this thing going.
I really wish I knew something about this David Rose guy who's joining us.
David Rose.
David Rose.
Davey.
Broadcast.
Yeah, we're just told.
Little Davey?
Yeah, Little Davey. Thanks, Roxy.
You got it.